All statements and opinions expressed by guests of the Adult in the Room podcast are strictly their own and do not necessarily reflect the beliefs or opinions of the host, producers, or advertisers. All interviews are presented in their most complete possible form in the interests of free speech. No statements should be interpreted as financial, legal, or medical advice. Listener and viewer discretion are strongly advised.
It's the Adult in the Room podcast with Victoria Taft. That's me.
Do you ever get the feeling that when you put all the pieces together, all the plans have been made, and then all of a sudden you can't do what you want to do? You feel like, what's going on here? And that's what I felt like just about 10 minutes ago, and I could not get online. So crazy. So welcome to the Adult in the Room podcast live stream. We do it every Tuesday and Thursday at this time. That's 1 p.m. West Coast time, 4 p.m. crazy East Coast time. All right. So today is just a mind blower. And the mind blowing aspect of it is the latest top on the Charlie Kirk assassination, as well as the latest on what Joe Kent has said about the Charlie Kirk assassination. So there's a big blockbuster, if you will, on that today. So I will be sharing that with you after I do what I believe should be anyway, the top story of this live stream. And it is what's been happening at the nation's airports, where there are people who have, at 14 different airports, been in lines hours long to get through TSA. Why is TSA so slow? Because 10% overall of all TSA employees over the past few days have called in sick because they ain't getting paid. For 2 months, no paycheck. And that's because the Democrats have frozen it, because they say we are going to defund the entire DHS. Now, why did they do that? Did you know why they did that? They did that because they wanted ICE to be defunded. And then it turns out that they either forgot or stupidly just nobody did their homework and found out, oh, you know what? ICE and Border Patrol are funded until 2030, 2027, 2030. They're all funded. But TSA's not. The cybersecurity aspect of the Department of Homeland Security. Gee, why would that be of some help, you'd think, at this juncture in history? Let's think. Wait. Don't tell me. So there's that. And what else? Many other things by DHS. They want to defund it because I don't like Kristi Noem. She's too pretty. Now you got Mark Wayne Mullen in there. He was given the big, swearing in today as being in charge of the DHS. His replacement in the U.S. Senate has already been made from the state of Oklahoma. And so that happened today. But you're like, well, wait a minute now. We didn't like Kristi Noem, but, we don't like ICE. Defund ICE. Our people are telling us to defund ICE. Defund ICE because they wore masks and they are secret police. Never mind the fact that they're not secret. Never mind the fact that they, in fact, are police. And never mind the fact that the left wants to keep criminal, illegal aliens in the country. Why else would they go to the streets, create activities that are violent against the nice people of the world, the nice people of this country, and have it be for, reasons of defunding DHS. Defund the police. Well, I serve with the police, so they defunded them. Well, at least they thought they were going to. And then it turns out that didn't work out so well. So we'll go over a few things that have happened on that story coming up in a minute. And then throughout the program, we'll be telling you about the latest stories. The TSA privilege removed for some elected officials, which, yes, thank you. The SAVE Act, what's been going on with that? Oh, okay. Ray Brown says, right on. I'm not sure what he's right-oning about, but right on. You're the first one up. Usually I have a myriad of comments already by this time. But, you know what happens? You can't get comments unless you're actually streaming. So it turns out that if you're not streaming, it doesn't happen. Which is, we can I just say we had a wonderful electrician at our house today. And I think that everything turning on and off and I confused things. And so was this time zone was supposed to be, or not time zone, but I have a protected area around the podcast time with the 5-minute lead up with my sound from Foxy John's and Dingle, Ireland, all of that. And, and they did not play on time. So, okay. Then so we got the SAVE Act, SCOTUS, what happened in SCOTUS yesterday, which is the Supreme Court of the United States of America, and what it portends for Election Day. So we've got election integrity issues at the forefront as well. Plus, we're going to get you your Iran sitrep. We're going to get the sitrep from the person in charge of the entire activity, but also to find out what other people are saying with respect to what's going on in Iran. Peace talks. Trump's talking peace talks. And then CNN said, there aren't any peace talks. We're in Iran, and we have no proof that there are any peace talks. And then they had to eat their words because there are supposedly, allegedly, peace talks with whom? Only President Trump knows. Well, I think he named the guy, but is it real? I don't know. Just don't know. I mean, what I'm saying is that guy the real guy? Okay, so that's going on. Let's see, what else? I have like a 2-page show sheet today. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, good Lord. Man, oh man. Crazy story about a woman, well, about a lawyer. It doesn't matter if she's man or woman, using AI to write up a brief for the court. And it went horribly wrong. Not just for her and her embarrassment, but for the defendant, the person who has already been sentenced and sent away to prison for life. And she wrote a fake declination of a new trial document. And I mean, got handed her ass in state Supreme Court. So we will tell you about that. Okay, so let's get to the TSA thing. My gosh, the TSA, this is just a beautiful, I think, a beautiful, symmetrical story. This has been one of the best stories in a while. This is the Donald Trump playing 4D chess that everybody always hates to say. But in this case, I mean, what's going to hurt the left the most? They have defunded TSA. As a result, TSA has lines 4 hours long at, let's say, the Atlanta airport. Let's think, why is this happening again? Oh, I know. It's happening because the left doesn't want the ICE agents to wear masks. That's how all of this started. So the old dipsy doodle from Donald Trump. ICE agents now replacing TSA workers whom Democrats defunded. Enjoy the Schadenfreude, baby. I wrote that yesterday. It was so much fun. Yeah, this is a good story. These are people, that's just a sort of generalized photo. Donald Trump just dipsy doodled the Democrats. I like dipsy doodle. It's an old-fashioned, old-timey phrase that is used generally in basketball. So he just did it to the Democrats. Only Donald Trump can find leverage in the Democrats' TSA defunding, turning those broke, unpaid TSA agents and the disastrously long lines at the nation's airports into a teachable, brilliant gotcha moment to behold. And indeed it is. Because these are the same people who said, we don't, we're going to defund TSA just to get at ICE. And all they did was defund TSA and got ICE, which tells you everything you need to know. The left loves ISIS more than they love ICE. They come to the rescue of all manner of bad actors, all manner of illegal criminal aliens. There are people that they've gone to bat for who are tren de agua, TDA. Because I don't like the way that the Venezuelans write water. It's Aragua, so it's harder for me to pronounce. Tren de agua, Aragua. And I'm used to just saying agua. So maybe that's why I'll just say it, tren de agua. Okay, let's do it that way. I've just made up my own Venezuelan word for water. Only Trump can find the leverage here. These guys are standing in line, going to bat for people who have broken the laws. They don't care. But then they go after, they protect kid diddlers and of all manner of weirdos. And it's like, we've played these vignettes, these little sound bites, a couple minute long tete-a-tetes between some awful and an ICE agent or Border Patrol agent. And the awful always screeches and screeches about how she doesn't like what he's doing and show me your badge number. Well, you know all that. But so what does Trump do? Trump sent ICE officers to help TSA because so many of them are out, called in sick. They had a major, mostly East Coast sick out. Let's get them. And so the whole country suffers. And what is really interesting is that they defunded DHS to get at ICE, which is funded until 2027 or 2020 or 2030, just to punish Americans. Like I say, these people love ISIS more than they love ICE. It's borne out by their campus protests. It's borne out by their choices of who they prefer to have in the country versus ICE. These people are anti-Western. They are anti-freedom. And I don't mean freedom with which you can use to break into someone else's country. So that's what I'm thinking about today. So when the left executed its planned insurgency over deportations, which I just described to you, their chief complaint was that ICE agents were wearing those dreaded masks to protect their identities from the unhinged, armed left. Trump hasn't forgotten the violent riots and how elected Democrats fanned the violence with their unhinged rhetoric, which it was. ICE are secret police. ICE are here to take over the election for the 2026 election. Yeah, they're doing it. It's a dry run. Hurry, everybody, get upset and be fearful. The tactic left the Democrats continually standing up for criminals as well as demanding that ICE be defunded. Entire information operations were bankrolled by leftist billionaires to convey this messaging campaign, this demand. But how the mighty have fallen. And enjoy your schadenfreude, Democrats. Congress passed the big, beautiful bill keeping ICE funded for years. And now the joke is on the Democrats. ICE agents showed up in Atlanta on Monday to help fill the slots left by TSA agents who were no-shows. So what did ICE do? Well, let's go take a look at this situation because let's talk to the guy in charge of TSA, shall we? Is he really excited about, is he excited about having ICE in the airports?
We are certainly grateful, of course, for President Trump, Director Lyons, and Borders Our Homeland for the ICE support. And they're going to be conducting non-specialized security support, manning the exit lanes, crowd management, line control. So we're incredibly grateful again, for their support to help alleviate the challenges that our officers are facing, that the traveling population is facing. But we're hopeful, but we're going to continue to focus on the mission. And if this drags on, it's going to continue to get worse. But we are certainly hopeful.
Okay, so people have said, or at least a couple of people, stop lying. The left is willing to fund TSA. The right refuses to do so. Oh, sure. That's why they didn't vote for their bill. Was that what happened? The left didn't vote for the bill that was going to fund it. And now they're coming back and saying, well, we'll vote for it. We'll vote for it. We look really bad at defunding TSA, but we'll vote for it. Sure, I know they need cybersecurity right now, in light of the fact that we are invading or whatever we're doing, waging war against Iran. Sure. But they want strings on it, buddy. And they didn't used to have strings on the bill. So go do your homework. Stop taking the talking points. Do your own thinking about it. You wouldn't do it either. Ay. Stop lying. Stop lying. Stop lying. What a stupid statement. Oh, geez. All the lefties are back. But you know what? I always say when there are a bunch of lefties in the chat, right on. I'm glad you're here. Because you know what? At least you're giving me a chance to make the case. And that's great. I want you to be here. Better than not being here, right? That's exactly right. All right, so now we have the situation where the TSA dude says, okay, well, I'm pretty good with that. And I want to get Tom Homan. Here's Tom Homan, who's the border czar, talking with Dana Bash, who used to be married to one of the 51 spies who lied. And she asks Tom Homan, hey, are you going to send these guys you going to send them to airport jobs?
How is that going to work? Are ICE agents going to move into American airports starting tomorrow, Monday?
Yes. And I'm currently working on the plan now of execution, working with the director of ICE and the administrator at TSA, the acting administrator. So we'll put together a plan today and we'll execute tomorrow.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions here. First of all, are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
ICE agents receive high level of training. And, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. They do a lot of criminal investigation on smuggling at airports. But, there's got TSA agents covering exits, people that enter through the exits. Certainly a highly trained ICE law enforcement officer can cover an exit, makes people don't go through those exits, entering the airport through the exits. And that stuff like that relieves that TSA officer to go to screening.
Okay, so, in fact, I wonder how that's working out. Well, it turns out that it's working out pretty doggone well. In fact, the folks at CNN sent some folks out to the Atlanta airport. And this guy found that, those TSA guys that, in the ICE guys, and they're working together and helping each other out, blah, blah, blah. Turns out it's working.
I think we can take a deep breath here. The numbers have dropped off. The lines are getting shorter. I think the average wait time now is under 40 minutes. So if you have a flight to catch today, it's a good time to come to Hartsfield-Jackson International.
Oh, is that right? It's here. It's time to.
Finally, we can take a deep breath here.
Take a deep breath there, buddy. I don't need you to play you twice. Oh, so everybody's chilling. Everything's fine. Everything's working at TSA at the Hartsburg airport. So here we have 14 cities that currently have ICE officers helping the TSA folks. JFK, LaGuardia, so they got New York covered. The O'Hare, Chicago O'Hare, Pittsburgh, Philly, Phoenix Sky Harbor, Cleveland's Hopkins International, Houston's airport, George Bush Intercontinental Airport in Houston. They have two. How many airports do they have in Houston anyway? Dang, that's a big place. Louis Armstrong, New Orleans. Hartsfield Jackson, which we just mentioned just a moment ago. And Luis Munoz Marin International Airport in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Okay, so 14 of them. And so far, no riots. No riots yet by the left. But hey, there's time. There's time. You know that they'll probably work in a bomb, maybe a Molotov, something like that, to try to kill people at the airport. And when they do, I sure hope that they're sent away for a very, very long time for terrorism. You're welcome. Okay, so the person, let's make sure this is the right one. Here's Chuck Schumer. He's the minority leader in the U.S. Senate. For how long? We don't know. Maybe things will change at the next election. I sure hope not. But here we go. Chuck Schumer talking about how, well, he wants TSA funded.
We must fund TSA
Nope.
now. But that's an ongoing process. They're meeting today again. But we must fund TSA now.
Yeah, he was right the first time. We must fund. Well, of course, ICE is already funded. Whoa, no. Whoops. Bill writes, and I'm old enough to remember when there was no TSA, and you could just walk up to the gate. Thanks, Muslims. Well, not all Muslims are doing that. Remember now, it's only the Islamists who decide that they're going to blow stuff up and make bombs. You know, I'm glad that Kristi Noem finally put an end to having to take your shoes off after. Remember now, all of these things happened as a result of like one guy, one dude who was connected to Al-Qaeda, who tried to put a shoe bomb. In fact, it was working. It was going to work. Some lady caught him and he couldn't get it to go off, but some lady saw him and they subdued him on a plane. Then there was the guy, the reason you can't bring any liquids on board a plane, anything over, 3 ounces, is it? I think that's being a little bit, loosening the rules a little bit there. But now check this out. So the reason that happened is because on a plane before 9/11, in Operation Bojinka, the dry run for the airplane, the Al-Qaeda airplane plan to go after multiple airplanes at one time and use them as missiles, which is what 9/11 was, which was an anniversary in the calendar of the Islamists, which is why Benghazi happened on the same day years later. So just appreciate that. Okay, you can't take certain liquids on board anymore, right? Because they went in, this one guy, he goes into the bathroom and he does a little chemistry experiment in there, creates a bomb, and then comes back out and blows part of the plane out. Okay. So you got the shoe bomber, can't wear shoes. You got the bomber on Bojinka, can't bring stuff on board, liquids. Then, let's see, and then there was Muqtada something or other, who was the underwear bomber, who wanted to blow up a plane at Christmas, I think it was, years ago. And so then all of a sudden, we all had to have, we can see a naked scans. So we kept losing our freedom, and then finally, at long last, a few of those stupid rules, some of them are stupid. These stupid rules have been rolled back a little bit. And so I'm glad, because some of that stuff's just really dumb. In fact, Kristi Noem thought some of them were really dumb, like not taking off your shoes and stuff when you're going through a doggone scanner, So there is that. So ICE is doing great at the airports. And before ICE was deployed to the airports, the left tried to make a big deal about something that happened Sunday before ICE was deployed at, San Francisco Airport. Not on the list. But they tried to make a big deal. This is what they put out overnight. Something terrible happened at San Francisco Airport. Let's watch, shall we?
Where's your bag?
Can someone call 911? Where's your badge? Can I see it?
These two ICE agents and or Border Patrol agents are arresting a woman for criminal behavior and for resisting arrest because she has a directive wherein she is supposed to be kicked out of the country, and she's had this directive over her head and her family's head since 2019. She's been illegally in this country. She's been ordered deported since 2019. And these guys see her and they go, well, bye. We're taking you. See ya. And all these awfuls go around, surround these dudes. Give me your badge number. All the while, they're trying to arrest this woman, and she's resisting arrest. And that people are surrounding them, taking video, which is fine. It's totally legal. But I demand your badge number. Hey, I know. I demand you just take a hike for a minute. Can I just get this arrest underway here? Gosh, so annoying. I demand my rights.
Okay. Can I see your badge? I don't know if that's legitimate.
How would you know then?
Can I see your badge number, sir? What is your...
Now, you hear her. That's the woman crying. It's fake crying. You'll notice when you see it. But that's her crying. And you'll see apparently a kid who's connected with her. It might be her daughter, who's also supposed to be out of the country with mom and the family. Back to Guatemala. Beautiful country, by the way, Guatemala. Been there. Lovely. Okay, so here we go. Let's continue to play this woman's check for tears. Everybody just sort of like hone in, put your radar scope vision on, or whatever you're calling it these days, whatever game is, whatever it's called. And please check for tears.
Name? What is your name? Where's your badge number?
Can I get my face in the camera?
I'm asking for your badge number, sir. What is your badge number?
Emergencia, yeah. Of course it's an emergency, lady.
We need to see your badge number. Show us your badge number. What's the badge? This is an illegal...
I've never seen somebody so well studied on all the ways in which they should be able to take it as long as possible to create the biggest fuss possible when somebody's trying to arrest you. And then she goes limp, because that's what all the leftists do. They tell you to go limp, right? I mean, and there's other ways I'm sure they do it as well, but here.
Show the badge number.
It's okay. We'll wait here.
I need to see your badge number.
Step back.
I don't know who you are. You could be someone kidnapped.
Step back.
Okay, we should cover it.
Now, there's some real tears, that kid. Anyway, they've all been repatriated to their country, as well as their family. They've been ordered removed. They've been under removal orders since 2019. If I were to go to Guatemala, and but I went to the nice part. I mean, I went to Antigua during Easter. Come on, man. I mean, a whole week's beautiful. Although I have to say, I did have to have somebody walk around with me. He felt he needed to walk around with me and my daughter because not all gringos are safe. So he was our escort, and I was grateful for it and that sort of thing. But the Guatemalans are fine. The Guatemalans are great. Anyway, it's a beautiful country. The Antigua was beautiful at Easter. They have parades every day. It is amazing. And if you ever have an opportunity to go, and during Easter week, Holy Week, go. Awesome. Okay, take somebody with you who's Guatemalan. That's all I'm saying. It's probably worse since I've been there. Okay. Okay, so we have the woman now. Of course, everybody is saying, that she is, repatriated. So the Border Patrol, here's Julio Rosas. So my old colleague from back in my old days at another publication. So Julio, your browser's lost connection to your screen share audio. Oh, that's great. Oh, really? Oh, man. Well, I don't have any audio right now, but this is so annoying to me. Anyway, so here we go. Julio says, DHS says this scene at SFO occurred before ICE officers were even deployed to airports to help with TSA. DHS says this family has an outstanding final order of removal since 2019, and Angela Lopez Jimenez attempted to flee while being escorted for processing. No, she did? Plus, did you see, I don't know, probably hard to see, but she's got her hands around on her handcuffs, and she's just holding on to the handcuffs. They're trying to put the handcuffs behind her back on her hands, but she's holding on to them really tight. It's just like, oh, what is that? Did Lisa Fithian come up with that one too? On March 22nd, 2016, or, Pramila Jayapal, March 22nd, 2026, ICE officers arrested Angelina Lopez Jimenez and Wendy Hodinas Jimenez at the San Francisco International Airport. The family has an outstanding final order removal from an immigration judge since 2019. While being escorted to the international terminal for processing, Lopez Jimenez attempted to flee and resisted law enforcement officers. ICE is working as quickly as possible to repatriate the family unit to their home country of Guatemala. Isn't that nice of us to give them a free airline trip back home, which is going to be in time for Easter Holy Week ceremonies and celebrations. So win-win, everybody. Now, if I sound like I'm just not terribly empathetic here, it's because I would never go to a country. Well, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll get kicked out of this one and I have to go to another country. But I'm going to tell you something. If I get kicked out of this country and I go to another country, I do it the right way. I'd at least try to become a citizen. That's all. The end. That is the sum total of my concern about this woman. Yeah. So, let's see. I want to make sure I get this story on. But in Antifistan and other places like it, as my friend calls it, exactly, in the city of the Summer of Love, Seattle, they are very, very concerned, very, very concerned with the fact that ICE could be coming to SeaTac to take the spots of TSA officers. And I've flown in and out recently out of SeaTac because I go all the way up and down. I was in Southern California last week or something. It was just, pretty quick. And so I've never seen any problems there, even after the defunding situation by the Democrats. Democrats defunded it. Want all kinds of lock boxes and strings attached to any funding they approved. So screw you. No. How about that? How about no? SeaTac monitoring the situation after Trump threatens to send ICE. Trump threatens to send ICE agents to airports. Wow. Gosh, you suppose if there were any really long lines at TSA, do you think that maybe people would be happy to see the ICE officers manning the other places that TSA officers usually have to man as well as doing the screening? Don't you think that's a cool idea? And if you didn't have to stand 4 hours in line like they did at Atlanta's airport, that you might be happy? Do you suppose that might be the case? Seattle-Tacoma International Airport said it expects operations to continue as normal as it monitors reports that President Donald Trump plans to send federal immigration officers to airports nationwide. Well, he's got 14 of them. In a statement posted on social media, the airport said we're aware of the latest reports regarding potential federal immigration. And we are communicating with our federal partners and monitoring the situation. Monitoring? What are you monitoring? Either they come or they don't. Thanks to TSA and frontline staff. Well, TSA, I guess, is great at SeaTac. Great, cool, or whatever we're calling Seattle's airport these days. Whatever. Is it something else? It's C or something. The one thing I do take issue with the president on with respect to this is that he is asking people, ICE agents, I'm a big proponent of ICE wearing masks as they search for and are forced to deal with hardened criminals, many of whom were let into our country by sleepy Joe Biden and his wonderful border czar, Kamala. She never even went to the border through their absolutely insane open border policy. I would greatly appreciate, however, no masks when helping our country out of the Democrat-caused mess at the airports, etc. Thank you, President DJT. Don't you think for a second? I think that's a bad idea. I think it's a bad move. I wish they would be masked because you know what's going to happen. Half those guys are going to get doxxed by the nutters who run the ops on the left. Of course they are. They're going to be doxxed. Their families are going to be imperiled. This is not going to end well. Let's see. San Francisco, we did a great job. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go over now to a different, this Joe Kent story is just eye-popping. And I have high regard for Joe. I have had him on my program before, had him on the podcast before. I really like him. But he has just freaking lost his mind at the moment. And I'll tell you why in just a second. But let us go to what I didn't get to last time we had this moment together between ourselves. When because I needed to move along to something else. I had a guest or something like that. That's why I don't have any guests today, because I wanted to be able to get to everything that I've been working really hard. And I just wanted to get to it all. That's it. Okay. So last we spoke, Joe Kent, former counterterrorism center chief, working directly under Tulsi Gabbard, who is the DNI, Department of National Intelligence. And so Joe, it's a high profile job. It's not nothing for shizzle. And so Joe is in charge, former Green Beret, former paratrooper or paramilitary officer, CIA, all kinds of top echelon jobs. He's not, and one of the reasons I liked him in this job particularly is because the guy's been fighting these guys, bad guys, ISIS and Al-Qaeda and the Taliban for 20 years. His wife was killed by ISIS in Syria after Trump ordered our troops out, over which James Mattis, the defense secretary at that point, now it's a secretary of war, quit. Said, nope, you can't do that. You can't bring our guys out. Well, they never did. They lied. Mattis didn't. He resigned. So anyway, so as we all know, Joe Kent resigned the position, but he didn't go leave quietly. He left kicking and screaming. And part of his spiel was, as he's messing the nest, as they always say, kids move out and stuff like that. $4. I want to thank MEGA for the $4 a gallon gas. So much winning. Yeah, sure. Yeah. You probably approved of all of the environmental shiznit that was put over your gas prices. They're not even, you're talking about high prices for gas. They're not even touching the West Coast prices where they have all those environmental overlays and additional taxes. Well, we're going to stop global warming. We just got to get more money out of you. You still have to get to work. There's a point at which it's too much. It's too much here. I agree. I don't like high gas prices. I was one of those people who went around with I did that, Joe Biden stickers and put them on gas, on gas station tanks or whatever, So, but you know what? They're still not as high as they are in the West Coast. I just suggest to you that you sit down and think about it. So, one of the things that Joe Kent had to say was that, well, wait a minute now. The reason I don't think there was an imminent threat and why I have quit over our involvement or bombing of Iran is because they issued the mullah, the Ayatollah, issued a fatwa years ago that said they couldn't have a nuclear bomb. And I'm thinking to myself, Joe, you're so much smarter than this. Why are you even hanging your hat on that? It's absolutely absurd. Here we go. This is where he says it when he's having a discussion, an interview with Tucker Carlson within seconds after leaving the job at the Counterterrorism Center and completely screwing over Donald Trump.
Was Iran on the verge of getting a nuclear weapon?
No, they weren't, 3 weeks ago when this started, and they weren't in June either. I mean, the Iranians have had a religious ruling, a fatwa, against actually developing a nuclear weapon since 2004. That's been in place since 2004. That's available in the public sphere. But then also we had no intelligence to indicate that fatwa was being disobeyed or it was on the cusp of being lifted. The Iranian strategy, it's actually pretty pragmatic. The Iranians are obviously aware of what's taking place in their region. And their strategy was to not completely abandon their nuclear program because they saw what happened to Muammar Gaddafi in Libya.
Okay, so there was a fatwa, he says, and the fatwa said no bombs, even though Iran had been creating enough usable nuclear fissile material that was beyond using it for energy purposes. It was already going toward the bomb-making apparatus, which we found out. In fact, they bragged about it at the table. So I don't know where they literally bragged about it at the meeting between the negotiators with Iran to stop any war making on either side. Okay, so that happened, and they were in pursuit of a fissile and nuclear bomb. Okay. So that is indisputable. But now, okay, so where's this fatwa? How come nobody's ever seen the fatwa? Isn't that kind of fatwa is like an edict, sent down from above, saying, hey, you can't do this and you can't do that. And we don't want you doing any of this and we don't want you doing any of that. It's like the Old Testament, but in one paragraph for particular things. And so I probably shouldn't have, that probably wasn't a wise thing to equate them. But you know what I mean? Rulemaking. So back in the day, this is years ago, 2015, I used to talk with Tom Jocelyn a lot. And Tom Jocelyn is over at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. And in 2015, he wrote this story about, hey, you guys, produce the fatwa. You keep talking about this nuclear fatwa. How about you guys cough it up? Where is it? And of course, nobody can produce it. In his annual statement marking the Persian New Year, President Barack Obama said he believes that Iran and the United States should be able to resolve the dispute over the mullah's nuclear program peacefully with diplomacy. Well, that's what Trump just tried to do. With his very next words, Obama said the following: Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei has issued a fatwa against the development of nuclear weapons, and President Rouhani has said that Iran would never develop a nuclear weapon, which is why, under the JCPOA, Barack Obama sent shrink-wrapped dollars and other foreign currencies on a C-5, or was it a C-17, shrink-wrapped over to the mullahs. And you know what they did with that money? They paid their proxies and they went in hyperdrive to get their nuclear bomb, even opening up a new place to put them, to work on them. Of course, the existence of Khamenei's alleged fatwa is hotly disputed, says Tom. If the president is so confident it exists, then his administration should produce a copy of the fatwa revealing what it was written and what it says. The Washington Post fact checker went looking for the fatwa in November 2013 as administration officials were citing it at the time, and he couldn't find it. The Iranians are well aware of the controversy over Khamenei's supposed declaration. They have countered by pointing to Khamenei's public statements in which he has said that Iran considers the use of weapons as haram, religiously forbidden. Okay, where's the fatwa, though? So apparently it wasn't, because they were doing it. So what's the tell here? So Tom continues to write that he allegedly said in 2012, reportedly said, the Iranian nation has never pursued and will never pursue nuclear weapons. There is no doubt that the decision makers in the countries opposing us know well that Iran is not after nuclear weapons because the Islamic Republic logically, religiously, and theoretically considers the possession of nuclear weapons a grave sin and believes the proliferation of such weapons is senseless, destructive, and dangerous. That is not a fatwa. That is a meta discussion over something they want you to believe. And as Tom adds, no one seriously believes this. U.S. intelligence community, which erroneously argued in 2007 that Iran had halted its nuclear weapons program in 2003, doesn't think this is true. Even at the time, the intelligence community noted Iran had been pursuing a bomb. IAEA knows. Takia, you have the permission to lie to us schmucks. So just this last few days, in the Times of Israel, talking about the fatwa. After the fatwa, Iran's path to the nuclear weapon. So this reporter says that, for 2 decades, they've been looking for the fatwa. At least in diplomatic terms, Ayatollah Khamenei's fatwa against nuclear weapons was cited in international negotiations, referenced by Western analysts, and treated by some governments as a genuine evidence that Iran would not pursue nuclear weapons. And on February 28, 2026, Khamenei was killed in a joint U.S.-Israeli strike. And that fatwa, even if it had existed, died with him. And she goes on to say, the fatwa, diplomatic shield, not religious conviction. In other words, they lied about it so they could use it at the bargaining table and, of course, never followed through on not pursuing a nuclear weapon. For years, the Iran nuclear fatwa served as a centerpiece of its diplomatic defense. Iranian officials cited it at the UN, the negotiations with P5+1, and there's different countries, and public statements. But the thing is that the fatwa in the Islamic Republic are governed by the principle of maslahat, regime expediency. They can be issued, modified, reversed when strategic circumstances require it. They are not cast in stone. Indeed, it's not cast anywhere because, as this reporter points out in the Times of Israel, the diplomatic shield is gone because the Ayatollah, he be dead. Dead. So nobody's seen this thing. They just like, oh, well, you know what, how it is. Have you ever seen like a story, for example, and in the news and you go, well, of course that's true. Everybody says it's true. Naturally. We see this over and over, like global warming, over and over. And it's just like a received wisdom. And like nobody actually can question it or else you're a heretic. So you will need to be put in a re-education camp. So that's kind of the way it is. Well, we heard it was fantastic. It's a fatwa. Of course it's a fatwa. Well, guess what? It's not a fatwa, Joe. It's not a fatwa. Ain't no fatwa. Ain't no fatwa when she's gone. Well, no, what? Ain't no fatwa when he's gone. Oh, man. A couple more things. I wanted you to see this before we go off to do the addendum. Oh, no, I'll do it later. Okay. So Joe Kent castigated Israel in his resignation letter, which I happen to have a copy of here. And he's resigning, he said. supports the president, doesn't support this war, and et cetera, et cetera. Israel seems to be calling the shots here. Like, I'm sorry, but does Donald Trump strike you as the kind of person who would be cowed by anyone and do something out of his comfort zone? Is he? Would he be that guy? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Okay, but that's what the running dialogue is for Tucker Carlson, Candace Owen. It's the Jews. It's the Jews. So that's what's going on. And it sounds like, and it gets worse. It gets worse because there's this. I'll tell you about this in a second. So I'm thinking, I see that Mark Levin has interviewed Joe Kent. And so I go, God, I really should listen to that or see it or whatever, if it's video or audio. It's audio. Before I go on today, so I listened to it at 4 o'clock this morning because, that's what you have to do to get ready for the show. And plus yesterday. So I listened to it. And one of the things that Mark asked him about was, hey, did you share text messages from Charlie Kirk with Candace Owens, whatever. I mean, honestly, did you share those? And he said, no, not at all. Now, here are the alleged, these are real texts, apparently. Here they are. And they say, this is between Charlie and I think it's Andrew Colvett, who is his number 2, who's doing a show now, along with his other aide de camp. And Charlie Kirk just lost another huge Jewish donor, $2 million a year, because we won't cancel Tucker Carlson. I'm thinking of inviting Candace. And he's like, might as well, that particular donor isn't going to come back anyway. And so somebody says, I think it's Andrew, Charlie Kirk, Jewish donors play into all the stereotypes. I cannot and will not be bullied like this, leaving me no choice but to leave the pro-Israel cause. That's allegedly what his things said. In fact, Andrew Colvett admitted today, or actually technically yesterday and again today, I just saw today's admission, that he did give these texts to Joe Kent. Check this out.
A new report from journalist Michael Schellenberger dropped.
Wait till you find out what his inquisitiveness and his conspiracy mind has decided to do, Joe Kent. Here's the big blockbuster story. Go.
As you know, yesterday we covered the backstory, but what really happened with the screen grabs, the notorious screen grabs now, and I revealed to this audience that I did in fact share that screen grab with Joe Kent, and Joe suggested that I leak that publicly. I declined. I went back through our messages, and he suggested I do so twice. I declined. Obviously, those were private messages. I wanted to keep them private for Charlie's sake. I thought that was honoring my friend. Anyway, so this new report comes out from Schellenberger, and it says, as you see on your screen, that Joe Kent says he's willing to testify at the trial of Tyler Robinson. So this is obviously a huge bombshell and escalates everything to a much bigger level. I have reached out to Michael Schellenberger, and he has agreed to come on the show today. He interviewed Joe Kent for this report.
So let's see. Make sure everybody understands, and let's get us to the same point. The person that he may, in fact, testify in favor of or in the defense of, not necessarily in favor, because this guy obviously had something to do with killing Charlie Kirk, and Joe Kent liked him. And Joe Kent just wants to get to the truth, he says. So he says, okay, my belief that there's something more going on here having to do with a foreign power, he has said. He said that to Tucker Carlson, as a matter of fact. And he said it to Mark Levin in their interview, where he says, well, hey, it's a data point, and I can't talk further about it, but there is more to be investigated with respect to a foreign influence or foreign overlay on Charlie Kirk's murder. Well, of course, this is going to be a wonderful thing for for the defense of the killer who's been arrested, who the FBI was able to capture quickly, thanks to Kash Patel and his just flooding the zone, getting this guy rolled up. And so now Joe Kent's muddying the waters, as are Candace Owens, as are others. Maybe even Tucker. I have no idea. And talking about how, he might have been paid by a national or international place, or he could have been put up to it by a different country or malefactor from overseas, right? And so Joe Kent says he's going to, if asked, testify at that trial about something he says he can't talk about. That should be interesting. More here from Andrew Colvett and his partner doing the Charlie Kirk show about Joe Kent.
These are Joe Kent's own words. Michael Schellenberger will be joining us at 1:30 Eastern, so set your clocks and please tune in then. It's going to be an important conversation. And Blake, let's just take this out a step and explain why this is actually a really important thing. As you know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories that we do not indulge, that we do not discuss. This is different. Joe Kent was a government official at a very important post, and now he's saying he's willing to testify ostensibly on behalf of Tyler Robinson.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be the only thing that makes sense if he does it, because it's going to be used to muddy the waters for Tyler Robinson to say, for his defense attorney to say, there were other things here. There were other leads not pursued as a result. There could have been an international malefactor involved here. My guy, he's just a dumb kid. He's just a dipstick. And dipstick with a gun. So that's how that's going to be used. And my guess is, if I'm the defense attorney, I'm subpoenaing or asking, and very nicely, for Joe Kent to come testify. And then I'm going to depose him to find out what he can tell me in court. Wow. That is crazy. I mean, it's what can he say? What can he talk about? That's so crazy. Huh. Wow. Okay. I'm not done yet. There's so much more going. All right. So we've got, I'm looking at my list. God, I haven't even gotten to the SAVE Act yet. Oh my gosh, guys. That's okay. We're going to get to. Question is, Jordan asks, question remains, can Joe Kent even be trusted? His decisions of late tell us he cannot be. I mean, and Jordan's no, fly off the handle guy. I don't know. I think the world of him in many respects. And I'm appreciative of his service. I'm appreciative of the fact that he has more than a passing understanding of what it is to lose a loved one in battle. He lost his wife. All of that. And I understand why one of his ilk might not be, I wouldn't want another forever war. That's one of the reasons, I've been going, wait, hold on here. But this is pretty amazing. It's a good question. Maybe he's genuinely pursuing his desire to find the truth. and he's willing to go to the wall to do it. And the wall is testifying for the defense in the trial of Tyler Robinson, who's alleged to have killed, who was there with a gun with his fingerprints on it, who's alleged to have killed Charlie Kirk. Wow. Wow, 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 yippee-yo, yippee-yo, wow, wow, yippee-yo, yippee-yay. That is crazy. And there you go. So watch this space. It's kind of interesting because I'm trying to stay out of that whole Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson thing because they've just, whoa! I mean, I want to stay out of it, but I could not help but see that this is bigger than them, than they, I guess is the more accurate way of saying it. And this is bigger than they are. And this is a story wherein Joe Kent might be called to testify in support of or defense of Tyler Robinson, who killed one of the president's good friends. It's wild. It's just wild. I can't wait to see the cross on that. Is this going to be, do we know what, I can't remember. Is it going to be televised? I hope so. Maybe it's not. Ugh, that'd be awful. I've never seen so much hatred about people as I've seen in this whole turning point post-Charlie time period, the slings and arrows coming at it. I've never seen anything quite like this. I mean, it is amazing to me. It is amazing that they're going after Erica Kirk the way they are. I saw somebody talking about her being Tammy Faye Baker-like today. I mean, she was married to the guy. It was her husband. Hello? I don't know, man. It's just really sad. Okay, a couple more things here. We've got to get through these. We're going to do our Iran sit rep right now.
Over the last 3 weeks.
Can you hear that?
We are taking out
Jordan, can you hear it now?
Of Iranian missiles, advanced attack drones, and all of Iran's Navy, which they use to harass international shipping. Their Navy is not sailing, their tactical fighters are not flying, and they've lost the ability to launch missiles and drones at the high rates seen at the beginning of the conflict. Our progress is obvious. U.S. forces maintain air superiority over Iran's skies, having now flown over 8,000 combat flights. Our air crews are performing exceptionally across the fight, from tankers to fighters and bombers to land-based and carrier-based aviation doing a superb job. Tankers are extending our reach so that we can keep constant pressure on the enemy. Fighters and bombers are delivering precision strikes against our primary objectives, and our pilots across the board are dynamically hunting threats as well, finding and eliminating targets in real time. So far, we've struck over 8,000 military targets, including 130 Iranian vessels, constituting the largest elimination of a Navy over a 3-week period since World War II. My operational assessment continues to be Iran's combat capability is on a steady decline as our offensive strikes ramp up. While U.S. forces continue to sustain overwhelming offensive firepower, I want to recognize our air defenders mounting a coordinated defense against Iran's attacks. We have built the most extensive air defense umbrella in the world over the Middle East right now. This is thanks to years of investment alongside our allies and partners to build a robust and integrated air and missile defense architecture. For more than a decade, books have been written about the concept of a Middle East air defense. Today, it's alive and well.
Okay, so this is you always get the good rosy picture, although he does always say the people who have died, he does pay a special attention to those and always highlights some of the unsung heroes that help create this winning, and winning more. And so I appreciate that. The other thing is, though, that the president has changed the table. He's just gone whoosh with what's going on. He's asked for a 5-day, nothing going on, no bombing, no nothing, sort of a peace deal, if you will. And So good. Okay, fine. And in the meantime, there are people who are being sent into the area who are ready to go to be deployed. And there's a reason for it. It's because he's not going to let anything, he's not going to let any moss grow under his feet. I'm going to be ready. Hence, the New York Times reporting that the 82nd Airborne is on standby, is ready to go. They can get there within 18 hours. And it is believed by these reporters, Greg Jaffe and Eric Schmidt, that they might be used. The 3,000 soldiers, combat forces would come from the 82nd Airborne's Immediate Response Force, a brigade of 3,000 soldiers capable of deploying anywhere in the world within 18 hours. These forces could be used to seize Karg Island, Iran's main oil export hub. Okay. But this is speculative. We don't actually know if they are going to be deployed there. It seems that it stands to reason they would, because we've got to be able to, A, take over Karg Island, because that's the nexus of all power that Iran has to fund its nuke making, that and all the money Barack Obama gave him from the JCPOA, which is a JCPOS, really, is what that was. Another possibility being considered, should President Trump authorize the troops to seize the island, is an attack by about 2,500 troops from the 31st Marine Expeditionary Unit, which is on its way to the region. I thought they were already there. Around. The airfield on Karg Island was damaged by the recent U.S. bombing raids, so former U.S. commanders said it was more likely to first bring the Marines, whose combat engineers could do a quick repair to the airfields. Once the airfield is repaired, the Air Force could start flowing materiel and supplies as well as troops, if necessary, by C-130s. And they're trying to figure out, where they are. They're running out of ammo, but they haven't run out yet. But their forces are depleted. Their ammunition's depleted. But this is the thing that we believe is likely to happen. And Karg Island's no wimpy little place. It's pretty large. It's not like Manhattan. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it is. I guess it's going to take a lot of troops to secure it. And of course, the Iranians don't want to do that. And plus, we've got the other problem right now. And the other problem is the Strait of Hormuz. Now, General Mattis, James Mattis, former defense secretary, before it became the Department of War. I read this defense or website all the time, and they refuse to call it the Department of War. They just either don't include it, or they talk around it. They write around it. They don't want to call it the Department of War. So James Mattis is ending the war now, could cede Strait of Hormuz to Iran, because now, of course, President Trump is talking about having some discussions with the people left alive in the power room for the Iranians, for the Islamic crackpots. And so he says, we're in a tough spot right now, because if we stop now, which is not probably going to happen, but if we stop now, this is an issue. Trump is talking about that because he's trying to create leverage. He's trying to create a way to have something to negotiate with. That's it. That's what's going on here. And people go, oh my gosh. If Mattis, of all people, who is Trump's SecDef, should know how he operates. And he's no dummy, obviously. I do have my picture with him somewhere when I was at the Reagan Defense Forum. Doggone it, I can't find it. It's in my, it's like an old deal, whatever. And I'm trying to get my Band-Aid back on because I just sliced my finger open today because I'm such a genius. So, Jim Mattis said the U.S. ending the war in the Middle East would practically cede control of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Iran right now, if we declared victory, they'd now say we own the strait. And you see attacks for every ship that goes through. Mattis, who led the Pentagon during President Trump's first term before resigning in 2019, said on Monday during the Sarah Week by S&P Global, he must have some big highfalutin job now. We're in a tough spot, ladies and gentlemen. I can't identify a lot of options. On Monday, Trump announced the 5-day pause on strikes against Iran's energy infrastructure as the U.S.-Israeli war against Iran enters its fourth week. Iran has retaliated against the Gulf states and Israel, leading to a near closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Cost of a barrel dropped to $90 following the president's discussion. Sunday, Ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, said the U.S. allies are starting to come around on offering support to reopen the Strait of Hormuz. And right now, 22 nations have agreed to help. And none of them can actually fire weapons necessarily. And, if they've got a navy, I mean, who's got a navy that's better than ours? Nobody. And so, but they're willing to, the UK, letting everything go to seed, because they're so afraid of their own tail and they're afraid of their own population. I'll put it that way. They signed a joint statement. France has signed a joint statement. I'm not sure what this joint statement's going to do. It's like a TRO. It's not like you can actually do anything to stop a bullet with a joint statement or a TRO, but here we are. Germany, Netherlands, Italy, and 22 other countries. Japan signed on. South Korea has signed on to help keep the Strait of Hormuz open. Australia and New Zealand. Of course, Australia's like on the last 60 days supply of gas or oil. So they're going tick-tock, Donald Trump. UAE, Bahrain. Bahrain has a partnership with Iran for an LNG plant, and Iran struck that LNG plant in Bahrain. I think I've got that right. But, just suffice it to say, they just screwed over a partner in the region. And they're going, no, hey, man, what are you doing? Let's see. And the NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said about 22 countries. So that's what we got going. But Mattis, he's a real politique guy. He's a can-do dude. And he knows what he's talking about. They've got anti-ship cruise missiles that can be fired off the back of a pickup truck that can go 100 miles. So there's a problem, Mattis said on Monday. And, people were mocking my suggestion that we send a automated ship into the straits so that we could use it as, fodder, literally fodder, so that we could find out where all the bad guys are shooting their weapons from, like what we do all the time to smoke them out. And so, President is aware that Iranian troops are deserting and fleeing. The information comes from a trusted source. The source is TSA TV network. I'm confident that the CIA also knows this. I'm not confident in the CIA whatsoever, but maybe they're watching TSA TV too. And thank you very much, Jordan. Appreciate that. As always, bringing us some positivity, some information, which we appreciate. So far this week's sit rep, we've got total domination of what we've done so far. Total domination. Now we have an energy issue. And as some person pointed out, I'm just loving the $4 a gallon gas. Hey, wait till you get to California and Oregon and Washington. $4 is cheap. But no, nobody likes gas to go up because everything, as we said during the Biden administration, everything goes up. All prices go up when prices to get goods and services to a place at the place at the thing goes up. Everything goes up. So we don't like it because we're just coming through. We just came through this terrible time during the Joe Biden administration in which $12 for a dozen eggs? Come on, man. I mean, it's ridiculous. Probably more than that. And butter and all, sheesh. Meat, so expensive. And the prices, yes, the prices have come down, but they're not down where they should be, in my personal humble opinion. So I'm not just like, I'm hanging out in Trump's sweater with him. But this is an issue. I trust him more than I trust Joe Biden, because Joe Biden didn't know his own mind. So yeah, I do. I trust Donald Trump to look out for my interests more than any other president in my lifetime. Period. He will go down as one of the greatest presidents ever. Now, of course, unless he gets us nuked by Iran, which has a fatwa. So naturally, there's no nuke. Of course not. Joe Kent? I'm laughing because there's no fatwa. By the way, if there ever was, which there probably wasn't, the fatwa died with the Ayatollah, who died in the first 10 minutes of the attack on Iran. And his son, who's the gay Ayatollah, who was named to be his successor, is gay, apparently. And, can you do that and be Islamic? I mean, and then the guy who was throwing the gay guys off the tops of the buildings, and yeah, he died. He did. So well, let's find out from President Trump. Who's he talking with?
That'll be opened very soon, if this works.
How soon? And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me.
You want the United States to be
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be
I don't want an Ayatollah.
A very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness,
I don't want an Ayatollah. Okay, we're sick of the Ayatollah dudes. We're sick of the Islamist fascists. Sick of them. The Islamist supremacism. And you know what that means? It means everybody's got to be that or they're dying.
everybody's been killed from the regime. They're really starting off. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela, how well that's working out. We are doing so well in Venezuela with oil and with the relationship between the president-elect and us. And maybe we find somebody like that.
Are you getting more options to lower the price of oil while we're talking?
The price of oil will drop like a rock as soon as the deal is done. I guess it already is today. No, we have a very serious chance of making a deal. That doesn't guarantee anything. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I'm not going to come out here in a week or 2 weeks and have you all say, oh, you said, I didn't say anything. All I'm saying is we are in the throes of a real possibility of making a deal. And I think if I were a betting man, I'd bet for it. But again, I'm not guaranteeing anything. They want to make a deal very badly. Thank you.
Okay, so that's that one. Also, he talked a little bit about the Strait of Hormuz. Listen up.
Control of it. Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be
Me and the Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime. They're really starting off. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela, how well that's working out.
Yeah, well, I mean, that might be a one-off. I hope they can find a reasonable man or woman in that country to lead it, but not in the Islamic regime. No way. No way. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. One more thing before we go. And I didn't even get to the SAVE Act. Just tell your senators to please pass the SAVE Act. Oh my gosh. And Election Day being on the Supreme Court docket yesterday, oral arguments yesterday. It's very important. There should be a Election Day, like one day. That's it. The reason we have so many people disenchanted with the way elections are working around here is because there are same-day registrations. Get your ballot in 3 days or 4 days or 21 days after the election. That's not Election Day. The Constitution actually has an Election Day in there. So just absurd. Here's leftists are gonna love this. It is Samuel Alito, conservative member of the U.S. Supreme Court. I think it's pretty safe to say that. He's a person who looks at the texts, reads the texts, knows history, knows things. Here he is talking about, let's see, what clue is there that Election Day means day?
We have lots of phrases that involve two words, the second of which is day. Labor Day, Memorial Day, George Washington's birthday, Independence Day, birthday, and Election Day. And they're all particular days. So if we start with that, if I have nothing more to look at than the phrase Election Day, I think this is the day in which everything is going to take place, or almost everything. And then we have 3 points in time, 1844, 1872, 1914. And we can ask, what would people have thought on those days is meant by this phrase, Election Day? Which of those should we choose? Which of those dates should we choose?
Well, I think you could choose any of the three. I mean, honestly, I think the single best one, if you're just going to choose one, is 1872. And the reason I say that is because 1914 is the latest in time, but that's the one that Congress gave the least thought to.
Okay, that is Alito and Paul Clement, who was the person who argued that in front of the one of two. The Solicitor General did as well, arguing that we need to just have, can we just have a backstop called Election Day, after which we can have no new ballots. The other thing that really blew my hair back, it was this story about a woman, an attorney, who used AI to basically write a life or death recommendation to a higher court to say, you know what, this chick shouldn't get a new, she shouldn't get a new trial. And when you find out the details, it's a mind blower. Now, so let's find this. I want to make sure. There we go. Okay. Here we have the problem, and this state attorney, this is a person who is working on behalf of the state, who works in the county DA's office, the assistant district attorney. So she's not necessarily somebody who ran for office. She's an appointed person at the office. She's supposed to be smarter than the average person. And this is what happened to her when she presented a case before the Georgia State Supreme Court. Listen.
Before you sit down,
Yes,
there's
sir.
one more thing I need to ask you about, unfortunately. In reviewing the trial court's order denying the motion for new trial, there are at least 5 citations to cases that don't exist. And there's at least 5 more citations to cases that do not support the proposition for which they're cited, including 3 quotations that don't exist. My understanding is that you prepared the order for new trial, the denial order for the trial court. Were those citations in the version of the order that you submitted to the trial court?
No, Your Honor, I do not believe so. They were not. I did prepare an order. That order was revised.
Look at his eyes.
So those non-existent cases were cited in your initial brief opposing the motion for new trial.
Laser eyes. Laser eyes. I'm going to watch you squirm, lady.
Your Honor, I'm not aware of that, but I would be glad to research that and provide the court with a supplement.
Okay, we'll get a briefing order out directing.
Yeah, you shouldn't have a briefing order needed. You should just get on it, honey. The attorney. And here's what she was trying to do. In fact, I did a story about it. Let me just, because I had time to write yesterday, so I was writing for PJ Media. Let's see, where's my, okay, there we go. Watch prosecutor get caught by judge in real time for using AI to make up her case. Cases, quotes, all phony. How outrageous. Here's a pro tip for lazy attorneys. If you never want to suffer such an excruciatingly embarrassing moment as this in any court, much less a state Supreme Court, then don't outsource your case to ChatGPT. So I talk about what's going on. I talk about what happened. I play this. The judge asked if the fake cases were used in the state's brief to deny the woman a new trial. At first she said no, and then she said, I do not believe so, to which he said, well, that means then, if you didn't revise it, if you did a revision, that means that the fake cases were in your first brief. And the request was, here's one of them. The request was order denying defendant's motion for a new trial. This is the amended one, which, by the way, contained almost, if not all, the same bogus cases. Now, why was this person asking for a new trial? Very notorious case in Atlanta, Georgia. And why was the perp, in this case, a woman who killed a man after in a long story, traffic incident, and she claims it was self-defense, but the attorney never made a self-defense claim on either avenues available to them. And so this is important when it comes back. Here's another one of the orders that she wrote. Same ones, same cases here. She did not check her work. And you know who else didn't check her work? The woman's attorney. Now, I'm a civil libertarian, okay? And I got to tell you, if my attorney hadn't read the reason why and the facts behind why I was not getting a new trial, I'd be pissed. Obviously, she's going away for the rest of her life. Life in prison is what she was sentenced to. So, Law and Crime reported that during oral arguments, an attorney representing Payne apologized for not catching the multiple apparent errors in the orders. I'm sorry, I didn't catch it, appellate lawyer Andrew Fleischman said. I sometimes don't read all the cases cited in my opponent's brief, and this was an instant where I didn't do that. I regret that I did not bring this to the court's attention. I am sorry about it. This is the guy hired to oversee this aspect of this woman's trial. She's been sentenced to the rest of her life in prison. And why, under what circumstances is she doing that? She says that her initial trial attorney did not pursue two avenues of self-defense available to her. And she's going, hey, my attorney sucked. I want a redo. So what happens? Homegirl at the DA's office, the assistant district attorney, cites bogus cases to support her argument for to deny a new trial. And then her stupid appellate attorney, usually different from the trial attorneys, didn't bother to do his homework. Don't you think that this might be a case of a woman who should get a new do-over, total do-over? It's so mind-numbingly outrageous to me that this happened to her. And very notorious case. She sees the driver of a car do something wrong and imperiling other people. So she follows him, and the 911 operator is saying, don't follow him. Just don't follow. Wait, go back to the scene of the crime where he hit somebody else and just wait there for the cops. They're coming. Well, she didn't do that. And she was also strapped. And so the guy tries to get away from her, and she shoots him and she kills him. And it's like, woo! She went to prison. And they never brought up any self-defense cases that she could have pursued. And she says, this guy was a terrible attorney. I've been had. And then what do? They screw her over. In the appellate aspect, screw her over at the DA's office with fake cases? Are you kidding me? That's outrageous. I mean, outrageous doesn't, it is on its face. Just outrageous. That's it. Just unbelievable. Ah, Lord. Honestly. I tell you. And then we're gonna leave you with Hakeem Jeffries. Hakeem Jeffries, whose famous uncle was an anti-Semite college professor. I think it was at Columbia University. Isn't that great? And here he is talking about how he does not want ICE officers in airports because they might shoot and kill people.
The last thing that the American people need are for untrained ICE agents to be deployed at airports all across the country, potentially to brutalize or in some instances kill them. We've already seen how ICE conducts itself. These are untrained individuals when it comes to doing the current job that they have for the most part, let alone deploying them in close exposure in highly sensitive situations at airports across the country.
Okay, ICE is doing great at the airport, and as a result, TSA lines are going down markedly. So there you go. But woo! You know what? That's not normal. Hakeem Jeffries, not normal. That mindset, not normal. They're trained. They're trained to watch doors. They're trained to see security issues. They're trained to use their weapons if they have to. You do want them to. Yeah, open DHS then. Couldn't agree more. Yeah, they won't. They want lots of strings. They don't want to fund it. That's it. Hoisted on their own petard. Or in the case of Hakeem Jeffries, perhaps you might want to replace the petard with an R, the P. So there we go. Yes, I said it. Last comment. You get a whole month to mail in ballot on time. Yeah. I know. All right, we're going to go into that a little bit more on Thursday. And remember, share, like, comment, be here. And appreciate you for being here this afternoon. And we'll see. We'll see how many people tuned in to the live stream today. It's always a crapshoot. Hey, is Facebook and or YouTube screwing us over today? You just never know. Okay, go. Be. Thank you. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Adult in the Room podcast. We do not take you for granted. We appreciate every single person who tunes in every week to listen and watch this program. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday, live streaming on Rumble, and then on every other podcast platform shortly thereafter when we can port it over and get it over there as soon as we can. All the shows can be found at victoriataft.com, where the censorship regime has been banned by me. Follow me on social media at these names: Victoria Taft, the Adult in the Room podcast, and The Victoria Taft Show. Send media inquiries, or any others for that matter, to victoria@victoriataft.com. And here's a big ask. Would you please subscribe, share, like, comment, recommend, and give this program a 5-star rating where you can? We really appreciate it. We do not take that for granted either. Follow my work at, you guessed it, victoriataft.com. PJ Media, I write tons over there. Flamingo Audiobooks, and of course the radio. I don't do this alone. This show is produced and engineered by Overall Media. 1A Cast is responsible for some of the Adult in the Room podcast's imaging. Logo design by Hageman Creative. The Adult in the Room podcast is produced at Flamingo Road Studios. All rights reserved.